So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to stretch your hip and how to improve your hip internal rotation using the 90-90. And so if we get into this 90-90 position, setup is going to be very important here. You want to make sure that your front thigh is parallel to your back shin and that your front shin is parallel to your back thigh. So that's going to guarantee you make those two 90-degree angles, which is why it's called the 90-90 base position. Now, to improve your hip internal rotation, we're going to be focused on this trail leg. You're going to take your hands, you're going to start by placing them back behind you, and then pivoting your torso and rotating towards your back foot. What this does is it rotates the pelvis and allows that hip joint to go into that internal rotation. And by rotating, you're also allowing yourself to support your torso on your hands and allowing the hip to actually be able to relax. Now, if you wanted to take this a step further, all you would have to do is think about dropping that glute towards the ground instead of rotating further with the spine. If you drop that glute, it's going to mimic you dropping that pelvis or rotating that pelvis further and deeper into hip internal rotation. You can even let this front leg come up a little bit if it means that you can access deeper ranges of motion in that hip. And so that's how you go deeper into hip internal rotation. Now, when it comes to improving hip mobility, improving your hip internal rotation isn't necessarily enough. Sometimes you want to consider where the hip is in regards to flexion and extension. So in this case, if you want to improve your hip internal rotation, you're going to want to bias hip extension. And so the way we can do that is instead of getting or staying in this 90-90, we can actually get into what's called an open 90-90. So you can do this a couple ways. The first one is you can slide this trail leg further back, or you can simply just slide your hips forward. So that's going to bring this hip into extension. And now that I've wound my hip up into more extension, you'll notice that you'll get that hip internal rotation stretch much sooner at the hip joint. And so that's a way of advancing it or progressing it. Some of you might not even be able to tolerate this very long. So you're going to want to spend some time here before you even consider going into any extension work. And that's how you improve your hip internal rotation using the 90-90.